Okay, so we are out of combat. The fire giant is running away. You can hear it stomping down the pass that you all came up. You can hear the oxen being startled by it passing by, but it is now sort of eerily silent. It's just after high sun, so the sun is now creeping behind, just on the topmost edge of this ravine that you are in. So it's going to start getting a bit sort of colder than what it has been, but there will still be light.
Quick question.
Sure thing.
Bree only saw one of these giants. She didn't see two.
Bree, yeah. So Bree did only see one.
Okay.
It was one arm that kind of fell out, and then the other one burst its way out, so it was crawling out.
That wasn't the arm of a second one.
I can if you want. If you...
Oh, that yeah.
I don't know how you're asking that, by the way. Are you hissing this question or spelling out letters?
That's a good point. I was writing it on the floor with my tail.
All right, okay. And I've kind of worked out that Loch's missing, and there's a huge great effing snake next to me. So yeah, okay.
Also a snake spelling out. Was that the only giant you saw?
You get as far as was before Adrick walks through the dust. So.
All right. So, Adrick, you were looting the bodies, correct?
I was searching the bodies to see what they had.
Okay, so the two trollkin that are piled up on top of one another. There's nothing really of note. There's no diaries or anything that they would have scribbled in. There's a couple of personal effects, like these little whittled carvings of just random odds and sods and something written in what looks to be sort of goblin, maybe. Nothing really legible because of the way that they've been sort of it's been carved into the wood. They are wearing the same sort of armor that the roving band was wearing when you met Coco back at that farmstead, and it is definitely a similarity between the armor that the fire giants have been wearing compared to these. So they seem to be working together. Are you moving on to the fire giants?
Yeah.
Okay. You see in one of its pouches, besides having some fairly large and to you cumbersome personal effects, you can see that there are these thin silver-like plates, and on the plates seem to be etchings, almost like someone's put a really sharp implement and has handwritten something into it. And there's a couple of them,
okay.
But you cannot read them.
Are they like pictures or runes or?
It looks to be in the way that they've been sort of placed upon the surface of these metal plates, almost if they're sentences, like lines of text.
Okay, I'll dig them out and how far away are they? They're not that far away. I'll call over to Bree and Harshnag to come. I guess I've moved over to the dead body, haven't I? So I'm going to be next to Harshnag, aren't I? I'm going to go, hey, what do you think of these?
Turning away from Bree, almost sort of shocked what she's doing to this dead corpse. He kneels down towards you and looks down, peering into your hand as you clutch these metal plates. These metal plates are quite difficult to hold in one hand. It's not as if you're holding like a notebook, for example. Your palm is quite stretched out to put your fingers around the edges of these plates, and they're not the heaviest. You've definitely held heavier pieces of metal when you've been in the forges, etc. But you wouldn't be able to hold these for too long without having to use both hands or to put them underneath your arm. Harshnag tilts his head. I am afraid, Adrick, this seems to be written in the tongue of the fire giants, and I cannot discern too much from them. However, Bree may be able to shine a light on what these are. Bree, are you done?
I'm done poking the eyes out. I don't think he's going to be seeing if he comes back to life.
Harshnag turns back round towards you, Adric, sort of wide-eyed, almost like troubled by what he's just seen.
They keep coming back.
I'm not even going to speculate. Do undead creatures use eyes? I'll hand the metal plates to Bree.
I'll have a look. I haven't found a solution for undead skeletons yet. Right. Can I make out what it's saying in Fire Giant?
So, unfortunately, because of how compact the writing is, you can't quite make out fully the composition of the sentences. But you do know that this is Fire Giant script. It is the same sort of sharp, angular characters that the language seems to be sort of pinned to, almost that of the brooch that you have, that ruby pendant that had all those very intricate carvings, either carved into the face or cast into the face as the pendant was being made. You ponder it for a little while. You're able to pick out certain phrases and terms that look to be payment, slaves, and there seems to be numbers. Numbers are quite the easier thing to look at through each of the giant languages. That seems to be the easiest similarity between them all. But apart from that, either these are some sort of instruction, some sort of maybe a bounty, maybe a task order, payment for giving something in. It's definitely hard to determine fully without sort of like a book to translate to.
How many numbers are there?
I think so. There's 3 of these plates you're able to separate, and there's roughly on each plate 3 or 4 small groups of numbers, and then at the bottom of each plate there is at the bottom of the amount of text that is on this plate, almost finishing each kind of block. There seems to be like a summation, maybe, of the numbers.
Okay, I'll share that information to both Harshnag and Adrick. What do you think they could be, these possible orders, bounty?
It could be like something that says, if you bring us this many slaves, you'll get paid this much.
We don't see any slaves around here.
But we've seen 2 emptied villages.
Yes.
Hearing the conversation just now about heads and skeletons and undead not using eyes, you suddenly hear a massive swish and a thud as a head rolls in front of you, Adrick and Bree, of the undead giant, now fully decapitated, with a fairly smug Harshnag stood upright, using his axe almost like a cane, as he looks down towards the fully dead corpse, as he gives you a thumbs up towards the pair of you.
Thank you.
Is that helpful?
Well, is it helpful?
I don't know. I've heard of headless ghosts before.
On a horse?
On a horse, wandering around in an old building. But okay. We probably don't want to be hanging around because maybe that giant will come back.
We could toss the head far away down a cliff or something.
Yeah.
Weylin, you approach, and there's a head at the bottom of Adrick and Bree as they're conversing about the details of undead creatures.
Right. I hit it with radiant damage, so it hopefully shouldn't be coming back. We don't need to worry about that.
It's pretty scorched.
Weylin's gonna sort of like just hop around like a wee rabbit, picking up his arrows.
Okay. So if you want to do that, just that retrieval thing on your character sheet,
Yeah,
you get some of them back.
There you go.
Okay. I'll put the. Where can I put these metal things?
You can put them in your bag. They're roughly sort of just bigger than an A5 piece of paper, but smaller than an A4.
Okay, so not that big, just a bit big.
They're not that big. No.
Okay, I take it there's nothing else.
Not of worth, no.
Okay.
Are the 2 giant shields possibly worth anything?
They are huge. You would not be able to carry those. So these shields that this giant has been using are that like what a knight may have been using as a tower shield. So it goes from foot to shoulder, and would take quite a strong arm to carry. And this thing was using 2 as melee weapons.
None of us are particularly strong characters either.
Weylin just sort of like kicks the side of one of the shields, like, "Hey, Harshnag! Hey, Harshnag! Why don't you use one of these?"
Maybe. He picks up one of the shields, and you hear it sort of clank across the floor. And he tries strapping it on, and he shakes his head and throws it back to the floor. No, doesn't feel normal, doesn't feel natural. As he then sort of grips his axe with both hands and nods, and this is more like it. As he slings it to his back.
Okay.
Weylin gives an affirming nod. Okay.
At risk of worrying people, do we want to search the rest of the rock pile for more dead things?
I don't particularly want to get close to any of them.
We've kind of got to get across it to carry on going up the mountain.
So the area that this undead creature has come out of is here, where that red square is. The rocks have kind of sunken in on themselves, so you would be able to go across it now, but you would have to lift the cart across.
And the oxen?
The oxen would have to be like detached from their harnesses and sort of guided across, and then reattached to the wagon, and then be off on your merry way.
Cool. How high up the path have we got?
You're roughly about 2/3 of the way through the early stages of the gorge path. The last sort of hour and a half to 2 hours, you would then approach the last part of your journey before you would see the walls of Bolgirntek. You would be able to get to the city around dinner time. So before it becomes almost pitch black around this area, but it will be getting quite cold the further in that you go. And you've still got the elevator system to come across first to go down further into the mountain pass.
Yeah. Okay.
Should we
What do you
try
wanna
to
do?
move the rock and rubble to make room for everybody and the oxen and the cart? I guess DM, is that possible to move all the rubble?
So you don't, so that 10 foot by 10 foot square on the map.
Yeah.
That's where the body has come out of. So all that would have sunken in on itself, and you can now have a clear path through to the other side, but the cart will have to be picked up by, let's say, Harshnag. You can't just trundle through it easily with the cart. So you all can walk across it now very easily, but it's too rocky for the cart.
Harshnag, would you be okay? Would it be possible for you to carry the cart across this this section? Because I don't think it's going to fit through.
Of course. He trundles off towards the oxen.
Okay. I'll head towards the oxen and untie them and then start guiding them towards the rubble.
All right. Weylin, Adrick, would there have been anything that you'd like to have done before you go to Coco and Loch?
Go on after you, Blake.
I was just going to say I was going to follow in tow, really.
Okay.
Crack on, Adric.
I'm going to head up towards where the giant came from and look around to see if there's any more blue arms coming out.
Okay.
Or anything else.
Loch, did you say you were going to be going around the area, slithering around, or did you sort of stay in one coiled place?
No, I was going to be slithering around the area, pretty much similar to what Adrick's doing now.
Okay, so would you have gone clockwise or counterclockwise?
I'd have probably gone sort of this way.
Okay, so with moving around, that doesn't go anywhere. FYI, that just goes straight up into the mountain pass. So this is almost like a bowl or a well between the two mountain sides. The entrance is only north and south of the map. But working your way further around in that direction, Adrick would meet up with you.
Mm-hmm.
You sort of coming to around about here. You've noticed that this rockfall was done on purpose. There looks to be areas of freshly dug rock where the area has become unstable to make the rock slide. But you can also see that there are pieces of wood that may have been used to form a makeshift trap of some sorts, potentially.
Such as a trap that's been set off, or a trap that's
it's fully crushed. These pieces of wood are fully crushed into the rubble, the rock fall. So there's nothing they're risking being set off again.
Cool.
Sort of like defenders might have triggered.
Potentially. But
Did you
Adric,
did you say there was a way through these rocks now?
Yeah, so where you've been sort of looking at this area, trying to investigate all this wood, Adric is now in front of the area that the undead giant emerged from.
Mm-hmm.
And because of how it was sort of encasing this body, the void that the body made is now sort of fallen in on itself and has made sort of almost like a cutout in this rock wall. So be able to sort of go over easily instead of having to climb over things. Right. Coco, what would you be doing?
Coco would like to... I don't know. He's still just chilling around. He's just gonna go over here and just see what everyone's talking about, just listening in and stuff.
Okay.
Just chilling.
Cool.
He's sort of just like happy not to die.
Yeah, no, that's all good. So you join the remainder of the group going back to the oxen, and they're untying the oxen. Harshnag was able to sort of get most of it off, but seeing the three of you sort of approach and start to do bits and pieces, he stopped and just waited for them to be fully untied, and he's literally just picked up and starting to drag the cart back towards where the combat was. So the three of you are now behind Harshnag. One of you would be now, or two of you would be leading an oxen each.
I'll take one.
Okay, cool.
We had multiple oxen.
It's two.
Oh.
All right. So leading back, Harshnag is now at the wall. You're probably about 20 feet behind him. Adric, Loch, you're at this clear area that you're able to pass through. Is there anything you'd like to do finally in this area before we move on?
No, I'll probably just be getting ready to slip through.
All right. Okay.
I'll just point out to the others as they pass that looks like this was a trap.
The three of you can easily see now, once it's been pointed out to you, that yes, there are these timbers that are jutting out in small areas of the rockfall on either end.
So you think it was a trap set by the fire giant?
I hope it was a trap set by people defending the city.
Mm-hmm.
And I hope it stopped this monstrous undead creature from attacking. But did anything else get by? I don't know. I can't see any bodies or anything.
So the reanimated giant came from this direction, which is quite worrying.
Well, it was under the rocks.
Oh, was it under the rocks?
I think Bree saw it come out from under the rocks.
Oh, I didn't see that.
But the fire giant seemed to be afraid of it. So it makes me wonder who made the trap.
Well, my hope it's defensive, that we might find that there are defenders higher up.
Yeah. We should also be wary of traps coming up.
There are guard towers around the path, but they're not occupied usually.
Mm-hmm. Well,
Okay.
Weylin will just be assisting Bree moving the oxen, sort of being beside the second oxen.
Okay, no worries. As you've all been exchanging information and everything, Loch, would you have sort of slithered across the other side? Yeah?
Yeah, and I was already slithering through, yeah.
Okay, all right. So Harshnag has now placed the cart on the other side and is awaiting the oxen to be attached. He is looking at the rock pile, sort of just making sure that nothing else sort of gives anyone a nasty surprise. He does pull out some of the lumber that's within this rockfall, and he puts it onto the wagon. Waste not, want not, I suppose. I personally would safely assume that you all just are preparing to move out, correct? Or Weylin, is there anything that you'd like to do around the undead giant?
I'll give it one last glance over before moving on.
So this has the same those same markings that you've seen before. The same sort of inscriptions that you've seen on the those giants that were attacking the Citadel Adbar that fateful evening, when the Citadel itself got fully sort of invaded from overland and underland. It doesn't have any of the weapons that you've seen some of these carry. It was just fighting with its bare fists. So whether or not a weapon would have been within the rubble, we were unsure. But apart from to a degree, a sturdy-ish loincloth and some sort of leg guards, rudimentary leg guards, let's say, it doesn't really have any personal belongings to it at all.
Okay. So, Weylin just sort of moves on. Yeah.
All right, no worries. So the oxen are fully tied up. Everyone's ready to go. Harshnag, with his axe in hand, sort of at the topmost part of the hilt, the handle. You all move on. The path does become a little bit more treacherous in areas. The path now descends slowly between the mountainsides that form this pass. So, as sort of described earlier, the flora in this area is sparse and is very rough, very hardy, especially with how cold it would be up here. And even though with the rainfall, the soil that these plants are in, it would have to go deep to find any sort of nutrients within this slate shale-like topsoil. The closer that you go towards your end goal of Bolgirntek, you do see that the mountainsides on either side have become more snowy, but the snow doesn't quite reach down fully to blanket the area that you are walking on, so that you are traversing. As you go around a fairly sort of like twisty-turny, almost like a chicane part of the path, you can see up in the upper reaches of one of the mountainsides as one of these guard towers that Adrick mentioned earlier. However, it has seen better days. A lot of the crenellations have crumbled. There doesn't seem to be any doors or shuttering to the windows that go up the turret or the outer wall of the turrets. Presumably, it has been manned for many years. There are a couple of smaller paths that you presume that are paths, because this is such a secluded area. It doesn't have the worn-in look that a lot of other paths around, like let's say the mountain regions around Waterdeep, or a run that you would find made by rabbits or deer in a woods. But you can definitely see that it has been, there's no vegetation that is encroaching these small little, almost like where a stream would come down from the upper cold parts of the mountain. And they seem to bend around and go deeper into the mountainsides on either end. As you finish this part of the the path, this gorge path, you can see off in the distance around a clearing, some quite larger than the area that you fought those fire giants in. You've been in the carts now for about an hour and 15. You can see a wooden building with what looks to be a worn pulley system emanating from it down to another wooden platform, and to the other side of this wooden building looks to be a path that drops down over the edge. Adrick, this is the elevator that you use from time. You have used once or twice. An easier means of getting up and down this fairly treacherous mountain side, a place that goes deeper down to what you call the Great Fissure that goes through your city. You would expect this to be manned, at least with one dwarf as almost like a skeleton crew, but there is no light emanating from this wooden building, nor does there seem to be a sign of the platform, this sort of movable gantry that you would ride upon down the cliffside. And it's roughly about 100 feet in front of you now, as you all approach.
No lights, no people.
No lights, no people. No dwarves.
No skeletons.
No skeletons. No headless skeletons.
I could sneak ahead.
Why do we need to do that? Where
just in case. Ambush.
It's quite a wide space here, isn't it?
It is quite exposed where you are.
Okay, I can't really camouflage.
So we've probably been seen already if there's anyone watching.
Yeah.
Not least that we've got a giant with us and a snake. I'm tempted to just go walking straight up to the building.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm going to walk up to the building. I'll turn to Bree. If you want to sneak around sideways, you can do, but I think we've been seen.
I'll do that.
I'll get my weapon ready. I'll get my ironstone out, just in case.
Okay. As the pair of you on either side approach the building, the wind sort of passing over you through the mountain pass. Adrick, you can see that the platform, you presume it is at the bottom of this system, at its base. The door is open. It's fully open inwards of itself. But you can see that there is some substantial damage to the outside. The decking that is surrounding this building has been crushed downwards, splintering the wooden boards up. Bree, as you move around the opposite side, getting a better view or outlook of where and how you're all going to try and presumably go down this area, there is an open pathway that drops down to the right of this building and seems to sort of skirt around, almost doing like a zigzag pattern down the cliffside. The more that you approach, Adrick, the more that you can see that the mechanisms that would be pulling the large, thick ropes across these cast iron pulleys has been completely smashed in.
Well, that's a bit of a bugger, isn't it? Are there any signs of any bodies or anything?
None that you can see outside. There doesn't seem to be any remnants of a fight or a struggle, a battle.
No blood?
Not that you can see. Whether that has been maybe washed away in the rain, or if there was any in the first place, you are unsure. You cannot determine if anything was there.
Okay.
But there must have been something sizable coming through here to cause this amount of damage.
I will cautiously approach the doorway and look inside.
Okay. As you go across the decking towards the doorway, you look out to your left down the cliffside's edge. You can see in the distance where the path would start to go, and the start of the main feature of your home city, just the tip of the fissure that then cleaves the space in two, and the fairly precarious path you all have to take once you get down this area. You approach the door frame. The door is off of its hinges. The bottom hinge is just barely holding on, with the door propping itself up, squeezed next to the door frame on the inside.
Fine. I will. Can I see into the building?
You can see into the building. So the windows, with this being just a shack of sorts, the windows wouldn't have had any like glass or anything. But the shutters are open. The chairs and the table that would have been on the lower floor have been pushed around, and one or two of the chairs have toppled over. But it is completely devoid of life.
Okay. I will go in quietly.
Okay. You move in with the creaking of the floorboards. Bree, is there anything that you would like to be doing?
If I look up towards the building, how high does it go up?
The building goes no more than 15 feet high. It's a rudimentary 2-story building. The top of the building looks to be where a lot of this gearing and these ropes would have been coming out of if they were all taut and tensioned, but they just now sag sadly out of this cutting in the side of this building. Completely sort of one of these pulleys is like shattered in half and is just held in place by the ropes that are sort of tangled up around some axles.
Can I climb up to the top?
There is a staircase on the outside with some hand railing that goes around it to the top part. Whether that's like a viewing deck of sorts, you're unsure of. As it wraps around the front. The front is where Adrick has walked into.
Can I just climb up straight?
You could. You'd have to sort of latch yourself into the wooden flitch boards that make up the outside. Yeah, you can scramble up.
I'll get my claws out and then scramble up.
All right.
Kind of just want to see if there is any life around in a higher position.
Okay. Adrick, on the opposite side of this room, through one of the windows, you do see Bree preparing herself to climb up on the outside of the building. Luckily, you saw that because any sort of sound may have put the fear of your god through you. You hear her scrambling her way up.
I'm already quite nervous and upset, so yeah, that's going to really flip me over the edge. Okay, I will go on in.
As you make your way further in, you actually see some of these structural columns that would have been holding up the top floor, so have sort of unbuckled and have started to splinter. They're not at risk of collapse, but anything sort of heavier than yourselves, or a group heavier than yourselves on the top floor, probably would collapse this building.
Okay. Is Bree at risk being up top?
No.
Okay.
There is a corner staircase at the far end of this room. If you'd like to go up to the area where the gearing would have been, the mechanisms.
Okay, I guess I can see nothing other than a couple of fallen over chairs and.
There's a couple of cupboards that are sort of opened, not necessarily flung open if someone's tried to rummage through them, but a couple of them have had their doors sort of like bent off, especially the cupboards along the floor. Around the edge of the room, the units that would have made up the countertop, etc. They seem to have been sort of busted a little bit, almost as if there was a struggle inside. Any
signs of blood or anything like that?
You're around the area that the table is in, next to a couple of these windows that are open, that are letting in this cold, frigid breeze. You do see the odd sort of stain here and there. The dust that has built up in this area has almost masked it to a point, but it is apparent in this sort of angle of sunlight through the window. But it's not masses of it.
Okay. I'll head for the stairs then.
Okay. Bree, you have made your way to the top of the building, and there is a viewing platform at the top that has some hand railing going around it.
Oh.
Just to let you know, there is a opening in the top of this building, which has a sort of a smaller wall that goes around to prevent anyone sort of like falling through it. But you can see directly down into the first floor.
All right. I'll poke my head down and go, Adrick?
You?
Adrick, hey, I just so you know, I'm up here. I'm gonna have a quick look around at our surroundings, see if I could see anything, and then I'll head in. Okay.
Okie doke.
And then I'll have a look.
All right, Bree, as you go around the perimeter of this building, to your left, you can see the caravan with your other party members waiting eagerly for your return. You can see Harshnag has knelt down on the floor next to the cart. You make your way clockwise around, and as you go around the right sort of corner, the right bend, at the front of where the front door would have been of this building, you can look straight down into the mountain pass where this ravine sort of drops and then drops further into this fissure. You can see a well-trodden path coming, leading from the mountainside path that you all will have to travel soon, especially after trying to peer over the edge to see where this elevator platform would be. But you can see that the rail ropes that it would have passed up and down on have completely come loose. The gearing, the winches that would have been at the top of this apex, this A-frame, have been broken. And turning back slightly, just to see inside the first floor, you can see that a lot of the mechanisms inside have been warped and shifted out of place. With the sheer scale of this place as you peer out over the edge, it is grand, it is imposing, almost as imposing as a giant is in combat compared to the five of you when you are trying to fight off these roving bands of enemies that you come across. Slightly unnerving, but it has that sense of adventure that just keeps pulling you forward.
Looking into the ravine, I don't see any signs of life. It's just dark, motionless.
As you peering over the edge, down the cliffside that you are perched above, it's not necessarily pitch black, but the mountain pass doesn't benefit very well from where the sun is currently placed, especially with the overcast that is starting to come over the area. The only dark part that you can see is where this fissure, right on the opposite end of where this ravine drops into this dish, this bowl. That seems to go pretty deep. The path that is adjacent to it, which is the only path sort of out or leading away from this area besides that of what you've just trekked up, it doesn't particularly look that safe, but is definitely wide enough for your cart and maybe Harshnag to be either in front or behind.
Okay. I'll pop down to where Adrick is.
Okay.
From the little hole. Any findings here, Adrick?
No. It looks like the place has been ransacked. If there was fighting in here, it was some time ago. Yeah. It doesn't look good. There should be people here. They should be... Yeah. Something's destroyed the lift mechanism.
Yeah.
Yeah, we can go down the path, but hey ho.
Is there anything we could do to maybe fix the mechanism, or that would take too long?
Yeah. I guess that the platform is down the bottom. We'd have to repair it up here and hope that no one's broken the mechanism at the bottom. But we wouldn't know that.
We do have someone that can fly.
Yeah. I think for what it's worth, it's probably easier just to go down the path. It will fit the car.
Yeah. Is it particularly safe walking down the path, though?
It used to be. I haven't been here for months.
The mountain path, the mountain path that you're next to that leads down this mountainside is wide enough for you to get down. It just is going to take you a bit longer than what it would have been to take the elevator down to the lower levels. So that definitely is safe enough for you to get down. That path, though, that you saw in the distance, Bree, I think you may have been asking of Adrick there, is probably going to be touch and go.
Okay. All right. So it will be safe enough all the way down for the oxen and the cart to get down. It doesn't get too narrow.
Oh,
Okay.
yeah.
That was my concern.
We'd use the elevator because it's quicker.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but yeah, normally goods would go on the elevator and people would walk. But okay, well, we'd better get a move on.
Yeah, I'm really sorry about this, Adrick. This must be really tough on you.
I'm feeling it. I'm really feeling it. I'm worried, Bree, but we've got to go on, haven't we?
Yeah, I don't think we can stop at this point. We're here for you.
Thank you.
We'll do whatever we can to set things right, find your people.
See what's going on.
Yeah. I guess with this, we'll start walking towards the group.
Okay. Weylin and Coco back at the carts. Bree and Adric would have been gone for at least 5 to 10 minutes. Yeah? Is there anything that you two would have liked to have discussed amongst yourselves or discussed with Harshnag?
What can I see currently?
So you can just see out towards this wooden building. Okay. It's perched atop sort of this rudimentary decking surface. You can see that there is a broken sort of A-frame mechanism with a rope dangling down from it, swaying in the wind. You know that there is a difference in level as you look further out, and you can see on the opposite end of this mountain pass, it does look to be quite far away. So the lower levels may be quite spanning quite vast.
Okay.
But you will be having to travel down something soon.
Okay.
There's nothing else really that would be a landmark in this area. The ground around you sort of undulates here and there amongst the shale and the slate. There's a few boulders here and there that jut out of the ground, and there's one small sort of dead, petrified tree that is clinging on to where its dead roots are probably down within the rock.
Is there anything around the area that I can see or spot?
Not really, no. There's a couple of these really small pathways that lead out into the deeper parts of the mountain, but they would be quite treacherous to go up or to traverse. But yeah, there's nothing else that's sticking out.
Okay. I saw a look at Weylin, and I guess Loch's with us still.
He is. He's in snake form currently.
Still a snake. I sort of look over and be like, do you want to follow in, see what they're doing, have a look around, maybe?
Yeah, it seems like something's amiss here. It's very, very eerie, very desolate. Let's go check it out.
Yeah.
Okay. As the pair of you make your about a third of the way across the ground, Bree and Adric do emerge from the building, and they are headed back towards you. The four of you meet up halfway.
What did you find?
I sort of call over a little bit, saying, "What have you found?"
The place is smashed up. There's no sign of bodies, which is a good thing, I think.
Yeah.
But the mechanism's ruined. We don't know. I don't think it's repairable quickly.
Mm.
We'd need to coordinate with down below. So it's probably quickest, easiest just to follow the main route down.
Okay.
Yeah, would have been quicker on the lift, but with it not working, there's no point in hanging around.
I guess we'll follow down then.
Just need to walk down the path.
All right.
Or slither, in the case, maybe.
You see this bird go on the floor and just try. Just.
Oh, despite my pain, I will laugh.
This traumatic pain. You just see this crow on the floor.
Jesus. Oh my god. Okay. With getting back onto the cart, and with Loch beside on the left and Harshnag on the right, you all start to make your way down the this pathway that zigzags the mountainside. In some areas, it can be quite difficult, especially with this sort of turning radii of this oxen and carts, and there's a few startles here and there of where the shale starts to sort of tumble down on the embankments on the inner parts of this pathway, and the oxen are startled by that, and it's quite difficult to control the oxen from time to time. But with Harshnag sort of at least batting them away from the more precarious side of this path, you all safely get down to the lower levels, with the abandoned shack looming high above you, motionless and still, empty. On the opposite side of this clearing is another sort of a cloven pass that seems to go deeper into the mountainside, and at the base is the starts of this fissure that the path seems to snake besides. Are we all making our way to that entranceway?
I'm not aware of any other route to go.
Yep. Okay.
Yeah.
Not a problem.
Do we see any signs of struggle? Any signs of fast movement? Any signs of life?
Nothing. Absolutely. There's the odd bird here and there high up, but apart from that, nothing. So you make your way closer to this mouth, and you start to traverse this fairly narrow path, narrow in comparison to the cart, and having Harshnag trying to squeeze through, gingerly placing his feet one after the other. You start to just see how deep this fissure goes. You can't see down, especially with how high this mountain pass goes up. You can just barely see the light at the top. You've been traveling for about no more than 300, 400 feet until it starts to get brighter again as the two almost vertical sides of this mountain open up to a vast plain of the same sort of shale and slate, but off in the distance, encircled by large monolithic walls, but bisected by this grand fissure that has now widened significantly and dropped down to depths not quite beyond comprehension, but that of multiple 50-foot ropes. You can see that this craggy path that you have been following is now guiding you towards the outskirts of what Adrick has been leading you to, his home of Bolgirntek. And on the outside, as the first close landmark, is a hexagonal spire that is wide at its base and thinner at its top. And dotted around its base seem to be these little fringe buildings where they would either be holding some sort of farmland, these patches of cleared area, as you all make your way closer to the city's edge. Do you all continue forward? Adrick, is there anything you'd like to be doing?
Looking for signs of life.
It is completely still, and it does not help with the ominous look of the overcast clouds high above. You know the weather can turn pretty bad, but you would hope that luck is on your side, and especially with how early on it is in the autumn weather of the region.
Any sheep or goats in the fields or on the mountainside?
None.
That's pretty unusual. I'll point out to the others that there aren't any sheep or goats, where I'd expect there to be quite a few. Any sign of life from the tower?
There is no light coming through the small black pinprick windows that go up and up the facets of the tower. The outer reaches, which this area is sort of coined, is devoid of any notable landmarks, especially with it being overshadowed by those by the imposing presence of the city's walls. The immediate farms that you would be going past, as well as the large cylindrical pumps that come up from the fissure, they do not seem to be pumping any water into the irrigation around these farmland patches, nor do you see any of the more hardier livestock that would have been in this area, like the cows or the goats.
Can I see the door to the tower yet?
So you're roughly, I'd say, a quarter of a mile away from the tower. So as you start to approach, the surrounding area does have a slight drop towards where the tower is, and dotted around further along and within the right-hand large space are those farm buildings that I described to you just now. The approach to the hexagonal tower, there is a door, a double door at the base of it, with a flagstone wall leading the approach to the tower. You all can freely move your you all can freely move your tokens if you wish, but please do not move too far along without describing what you're doing. So, Adrick, please lead the way in the direction that you would like to take the group.
Well, I'd want to go towards the main city gates, or where the gates were.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Kind of ignoring the tower, unless it's obviously, as I go past it, there's something obviously wrong with it.
Okay. So you're leading the cart. Coco, will you remain in the cart? Or are you going to jump out?
Yeah, I'll jump out.
Okay, going to jump out. No worries. Adrick, I'm going to say Loch is going to accompany you with the cart towards the tower. Bree and Weylin, as you approach the edge of the fissure and just see how far down it drops, the pair of you can just barely see at its base what looks to be a thin, narrow river with a few pools of water potentially dotting the outside edges of, maybe in its heyday, would have been a fast-flowing glacial river from the ice-capped peaks surrounding. Peering across, you can just see how immense this city is. There seems to be a lower plateau of buildings. The lower plateau is on the side of the fissure that you are on. Then there is an upper plateau which has some of the larger buildings, the larger landmarks of the city. And there looks to be some of these buildings, some of these large towering, almost church-like structures that have been carved into the side of the mountain on this upper plateau area. But encirculating both of these parts of the city, these large, sort of sharp, geometric, monolithic walls with squared edge turrets that pin the wall around the city. Is there anything that you would like to be doing? Weylin?
No, Weylin's just going to sort of, at first, stand there squinting. Oh my god, it's really deep. And then sort of looking over and respecting the area for what it is, or at least was. And then looking back towards the cart that's steadily getting further and further away and just sort of like slowly catching up.
Okay. Bree?
I'll be doing the exact same as Weylin.
Okay. So as the party moves closer towards the tower, Adrick and Loch, the pair of you will be sort of slightly ahead of the group, Harshnag hot on your heels. Adrick, the closer you get towards the tower, you would expect there to be lights, or like at least torchlight coming out from the windows. The sages, the mages that reside within the tower, have been known to work, through the night, doing all sorts of tasks. But as you get closer towards the where the road drops down onto the lower level that this tower is situated, you notice that the outside of the door has been crudely boarded shut.
From the outside or from the inside?
From the outside. So there are boards on the outside, and there's this large beam that has been slid between the large ornate handles. One of these handles has been slightly pried loose, almost as if something has pulled it against these boards, either trying to get in or trying to get out. It's unclear. But when you left the city, there were sages outside practicing things. There was some trade going on from the inner city to this area. It wasn't as soulless as it looks now.
Okay, I think I should divert. I'll go and look more closely at the gates of the tower. Basically, the only thing I'm putting off going into the city.
Okay, so as you pull the cart towards the slope, the oxen seem to be rather unsettled about being in the area, whether that be due to how cold it's starting to get, whether that be the large imposing sort of energy coming from the city, or because there's a giant freaking snake slithering alongside you. Not entirely sure. Are you getting out of the cart to move closer towards the tower?
Yeah, I'll turn to the others and say, I'm going to go look at the tower gate. And I'll park the cart. Can I do that?
Yeah, you can park it.
Yeah. Stop the oxen, put the brake on, and jump down and walk over to the gates.
Okay. How far back is everyone from Adrick?
I think I'm about 20 feet away.
Okay, no worries.
Yeah, I'll be roughly the same.
All right. Coco?
From where I am, I guess I'm probably good 40 feet away.
Okay. No worries. I'm just going to move everyone up. So Hartsvale is quite close. He's central to all of you. So is Loch. He's going to perch up on this sort of this little hillside bit here. Are you fully walking up to the front of the tower, Adrick? Yeah?
Yeah. Look around to see what others are doing, and then
Okay.
I will head up, at least to here. Is there any sign of anything obvious here?
Some parts of the wall have been toppled over. Not that you're too familiar with this wall, but the area generally used to be quite well kept. The flora, the ferns that seem to be, the grasses that seem to be growing out of the ground, these briars that are dotting the area, a lot of these have seem to have grown quite fiercely since you've been here last. The closer that you get towards the door, and when you look up the length of the tower, with it looming high with the grey cloud cover, there is just something quite ominous about this building. A presence that it now has, that it never did have when you used to call this place your home. The doors that have been boarded shut, you can see that the nails that have been driven into the masonry, the stonework, haven't been fully smashed in, like hit in, or something has pushed against the boards to pry these large nails out. The handle on the left-hand side seems to be in the same sort of pried position, with the right handle fully off, and the door slightly is ajar.
Okay, how wide open is the gap?
Probably about an inch.
I go right up here.
Okay. There isn't, so the on each of the faces of this tower, there is just one window per face. not the nicest of designed buildings from the outside, and especially with living inside, you would have to have a lot of candle and torch lights to keep the place lit, even during the brink of day. You can't really see through this inch crack in the door. If anything, the large oak door, one of the panels that would have made up the whole door, would probably take up quite a lot of this inch gap. So if anything, the actual slit between the doors, about no more than 4 mil, if that. It does look as if you can just fully push this door open and creep under the boards if you wanted to open it, or the boards would be fairly easily pried off, either by a couple of you having some crowbars or some pry irons behind it, or by the hefty hands of a giant that you have at your disposal.
With these boards in place, how easy would it be to open the door from the inside?
It doesn't seem to be swinging in the wind. Are you going to try and push the door?
No, I was just wondering whether the boards were put there to stop someone getting out, or been there put there to stop people getting in.
You can see a couple of nails that do go along the centre line of the boards that would have gone through the door, or into the door, sorry. The main way that someone has tried to stop the doors from being opened, it was through the large door handles, which has now failed. A good hefty shove probably could pry the door free from the nails that would still be within it, but that would need a good hefty push from maybe one or two of you.
I will turn to look at the others and say, what do you think? Do we open the doors and see what's inside, or leave it shut while we check out the rest of the city?
Let's go in.
Yeah, let's do it.
It's going to be roughly about 5:45 in the evening, by the way, just to let you all know.
So we could potentially stay the night if this is a safe place to go, and then check the city out in the morning.
Yeah.
Okay. Harshnag, could you do me a favour and try and pull these off the...
He looks down towards you, and he has to even bend his back with how tall this tower is. Okay, he's about 18 feet tall. So this is a very, very tall building. There's roughly about 6 floors that you would be able to tell, only because of the lack of windows that dot the outside of this tower. He crosses his arms and sort of flexes ever so slightly, almost as if he's uncomfortable, but he does heed your request, and he pulls off the 2 boards that are already loose. There's 1 board at the bottom that was easily picked off. And are you asking him to push the door open, or?
I'm guessing that once the wood's out of the way, the door should just open normally.
So the door that has been slightly ajar has now sort of slowly starting to swing open into the building.
Okay. Any sound coming from inside?
It is completely silent. The light that is outside is now revealing the hewn flagstone floor. As the door opens, letting in a bit more light, you can see just about 10 feet inwards before it does sort of the light drops off, that there does seem to be a fair amount of mess on the floor, i.e. paperwork, which is now slightly blowing in the wind, as the winds have picked up in the latter part of the afternoon you've been travelling, and there seems to be some dirt and dust, and you can't help but notice maybe there's some broken boxes that are just being picked out on their edges by the lights that are bleeding through.
Okay. I'll pick up a stone from the floor and cast light on it.
Okay.
And I'll go through the open door, push the door open and go in.
Okay. Adrick picks up the stone, and the light is shining bright from this piece of slate that he has in his hand. And he, with one big gulp, I suppose, Adrick, you walk through the doorway.